Ex-Rockstar developer Rob Carr, which is a crazy name, Rob Carr, Grand Theft Auto. He talked about the audio design of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. He also talks what we're gonna look at today about GTA 6, and he even mentions the production of Red Dead Redemption 3, how that game would be made. This is a super interesting interview, so definitely stick around for the whole thing. And we're gonna start right with the GTA 6 stuff. This is Rob Carr talking about his impressions of GTA 6 with some snippets of what might be in there. Let's get into it. Let's watch it.
Because I work so heavily on GTA 5, I know the engine. It's mostly the mechanics, I think, is what I'm more interested in. You know, when a great example of this is GTA 4, when they did the DLC, they did the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and the Damned. At the time, people were like, brilliant, that's really, really good. And there's one mission in particular, the Four-Leaf Clover, where all three characters connect in the middle, sort of thing. And retrospectively, looking back now, it's easy to see that that's the blueprint of the three-player system in GTA 5. You know, Trevor, Michael, and it's only when you look back at that you're like, oh, God, yeah, like it's actually really quite obvious. You know, like that's one mission where three different storylines meet in the middle. And, you know, for one mission, that's what I'm more curious about, because you look at GTA 5 and what they did there. And, you know, again, like I have a bit of a behind the scenes thing with GTA 5. You know, I knew some of the things that we was going to do, but never got round to. I know some of the things that we experimented with, and you know, again, can't discuss anything like that, unfortunately. I wish to God I could. But there's elements of that I'm like, I'm really, really quite keen to see what they do, because there will be things in GTA 5 that they will have in GTA 6 that you look at and go, oh, we should have seen that coming. That was, oh man, that's really clever, because they're very good at that, you know. And there is things for sure I feel that they did in GTA 5 that they will definitely want to expand on and use as either a core mechanic or a main plot point or something in GTA 6. I'd be incredibly surprised if they don't do anything like that. I'd be very, very surprised. But again, I'm coming in blind. I've got zero experience. I know nothing about it, you know, other than the fact that they probably will, you know, given the time frame of how long it's taken them to get to this stage, they've probably rebuilt the entirety of the Rage engine. That's the only thing I can say with real, genuine confidence. I'll be amazed if they didn't, because the architecture of technology has advanced significantly since GTA 5, which again, easy to forget. That was 3 generations ago. That was the last one to be released on 360 and PS3. You know, everyone forgets that, because it's still, like, up until recently, GTA Online was still a going concern. You know, that's a good tenure for a game, for any game, you know, and that's on the PS5. Even on GTA 5, they took the Deadeye system, and they used, you know, the Deadeye sort of thing as one of the perks, you know, for one of the characters. You know, you've got the Deadeye thing that Michael used. I think you've got the slow-mo driving thing for Franklin, and the basically berserker mode for Trevor. You know, they're all key things that they've been used in previous sort of titles that they wanted to sort of expand upon. So I'll be surprised if they don't use something from Red Dead 2. But we'll see. We'll see.
And by the way, thank you so much for 12,000 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 100,000 on the end of the year. Seems impossible, but hopefully we can get there. And also, if you're on your phone, click the hype button, because that's a new thing. Let's get back to the video. Super interesting to see what he thought about GTA 6 and even his analysis on how previous games influenced the next game in terms of GTA 4 to GTA 5. And you can now see how RDR2 even inspires GTA 6 with a lot of its features that they have with the NPC system and the memory that the game has, where if you shoot somebody up in the town, then you go somewhere else for a while, you come back, they remember what you have done, and that will be amplified in GTA 6 in a major level, which we cannot fathom yet because they haven't explained how it works in terms of Rockstar Games themselves officially. But crazy stuff to think that that's actually happening now with GTA 6. It is just his opinion, of course, but yeah, this is something that Rockstar always does. The next part of the interview I want to show you is him talking about how he started with Red Dead Redemption 1, what exactly it is that he did in that game, and how it influenced influences other games, and he also talks a little bit about Red Dead Redemption 3 and how that would work. So man, this was so exciting. The first Rockstar developer ever to talk about Red Dead Redemption 3 and the potential of it. So let's go and watch that clip right now.
For me at least, I mean, the work that I was actually doing on it was I was mostly involved in audio QA for that more than anything. So from a creative aspect, I really contributed to it. Audio people are the best people to check for audio bugs because they know the terminology, they know what they're looking out for. No disrespect to QA, like them guys are just, I couldn't do QA. But because you can't expect someone who doesn't know anything about audio to know, oh, is that an orphan sound that's spawning in the middle of the, like, what's causing that? You know, as an audio designer, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what that is and I know what causes it. When I make the bug for it, it's like, these are the details, these are the specific details. I could go in and fix it myself, but that's not really how this works, you know. So for me, I was mostly playing it all the time. And there's one thing that a lot of people, currently it's available on PlayStation Plus, Red Dead 1. And if you have PlayStation Plus, please get it and play it because it has aged beautifully. I think when we was working on it, one of the first things that they said was like, at any particular point, you should be able to pause the game, take a screenshot and frame it for your wall. And boy, did they deliver. Like, it is a pretty game. It's a very, very pretty game. And the voice acting in it is superb. Now, here's the thing that makes it my favorite game. And it's the weirdest reason ever. People forget this was 3 generations of console ago. Like Xbox 360 and PS3. Look at the game now, and you compare it to Red Dead 2, and it's like, okay, well, Red Dead 2 is clearly higher fidelity, it's clearly a better game. But there's over a decade difference there. And you'd be very hard pressed, you know, other than the generation of console, you'd be very hard pressed to really pinpoint any real significant difference. Main reason why it's my favorite game is it was way ahead of its time for when it was released. Decades ahead of its time, really, if we're being honest. You know, it was a massive open world Western with superb voice acting, incredible soundtrack, like one of the best soundtracks, you know, of any game, I think, in the last sort of 15 years. Yeah, and there's been some pearlers with that as well, you know, like game soundtracks have got significantly better with a lot more investment in them, and it shows, you know, God of War, Mass Effect, Portal, Skyrim, you know, like all of them have exceptional soundtracks. And that's one of the things that really pulls me in is good story, told very, very well with an excellent soundtrack. 50, 60 hours worth of gameplay for, at the time, $40. Now you'd be looking at 80 to 100 euros. But when it was first released, it was about 40, 45, 50 euros for a 60-hour game plus. I mean, that's bang for buck, isn't it? You know it's a good game when, as an audio, you know, as a game professional, you can play it and you don't dissect it. If you play it for the, you know, if you play it the first time and you play it the whole story mission start to finish, and you are playing it as a gamer rather than as a game designer or an environment artist, and you're not, you know, dissecting it, I think that's the hallmarks of a good game. If at some point you'll probably want to play it again, specifically so that you can, okay, I want to know how they did this, and I'm going to pay a bit more attention. That's when the veil starts to break a little bit. But if you can play it, if you're playing a game and the first things that you start to notice are the little things, you know, like bugs that you look at and go like, I know how to fix that. You know, and it's one of the first things, you know, like that's often why you see the first 3 hours of gameplay of any game is usually the most polished, because by the time you get to the 3 hour mark and the cracks start to form, you're already invested. You know, psychologically, you're more likely to let things slip and slightly more likely to go like, it's annoying, but I'm not going to stop playing it at this point. Whereas if you encounter those issues in the first 25 minutes of you playing it, less than an hour later, you've uninstalled it. Like, this is garbage, I'm not playing this. This is absolute rubbish. You know, like, I don't want to name names or anything, but there's a recent franchise that Ubisoft did with people jumping off of cliffs into bales of hay, where they released a game and they basically they released it too soon. They released it to try and hit the holiday market, you know, Thanksgiving, and it got destroyed the first, you know, because it was virtually unplayable because they shipped it too soon because they wanted to get the profit margins in rather than releasing a good game, and they got absolutely destroyed for it. Quite rightly so. They since patched it and it's a great game now, apparently, you know, but the damage was already done. You know, like people are just like, what the hell is this? This is like, and you're paying like $70 or $80 for that. If I'm paying $70 or $80 for anything, I want it, you know, I want it to work, you know, I want it. And that's, again, another reason why, especially I think these days, days, it's never been more important to have high quality and good games, because games are expensive. They're not just expensive to make, but they're expensive to buy. And the perpetuation here is like, well, the reason that, you can't have something like Red Dead Redemption 3, which is a behemoth of a game with hours and hours, and it's visually stunning with incredible punch. You can't have that without having the production costs that come with it. Like that scale of game takes a lot of people a long time to make, and that costs money. And the people that are making that, they want to be comfortable. They want to have a good salary. They want to have a living wage, rightly so. And that perpetuates the cost. Okay, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But what if I'm paying $70 or $80 for a game, but it's only 4 hours long? Oh, there's a multiplayer element. I don't like having my ass handed to me by a 10-year-old in China. No, I have no interest in multiplayer at all. I don't mind making them, but they're not games that I would play because I'm not very good at them. I like to sit on my couch. I like a good story, and I like to be able to pause it and make myself a cup of tea if I want one, and come back and carry on where I left off. I don't want to have to be on the edge of my seat trying to do something just to succeed in something. I don't find that particularly fun as a gamer. Again, as a developer, I don't mind it because it's got good lessons to be learned in multiplayer games when you're developing, like some good problems that you need to try and sort of fix. As a gamer, no interest at all. Unless I'm playing online with my brother. Like I have a twin brother back in the UK. Occasionally we will have a game of something, like maybe Portal 2 or something, or, World of Tanks or something. So.
And Rob makes some really great points here, and it is super exciting to hear him kind of name drop RDR3. We don't know if the game is gonna be made, but it is probable that this will come out after GTA 6 and that they'll start working on it, as Red Dead Redemption 2 is, I think, the second most sold Rockstar game, or the second most successful Rockstar game, and RDR is now a true franchise along with the GTA franchise, so it's definitely gonna happen at some point. We don't know when, but let's talk about the next thing, which is, of course, Kiwi Talks always asks these Rockstar developers about crunch culture. So here is also Rob talking about what he had to do when there was crunch culture, and this one is super interesting because it's different from all the other Rockstar developers, where he kind of talks about that his whole process is making sure that he gets ready for the crunch culture instead of working on something and then crunch comes. He spends his whole time getting ready for it. So he's way better at explaining this, so let's look at a clip. He's way better at explaining this, so let's look at the clip right now.
What you have to remember from an audio perspective is nobody likes to do the same thing too many times. Iteration is fine, but if you're not iterating on something, but you just have to keep doing it again and again and again, just because someone else has changed something, it's not smart workplay. For an example, if I'm tagging animations, the sounds aren't iterated on, they are the same sounds. But if they change the animations, I have to change, the timings, the animation tags, for an example. Sure, the animator could do that, but as an audio designer, actually they've changed this animation. It looks different, so it's probably going to sound different. I need to iterate on that. That's fine. But if I have to do that every time because someone's saved over my work, that's no longer smart. So it's easy for me to just say, you know what, when it's locked down and it's done, then I'll go in and I'll do the sound. Because at that point, when we're in lockdown and everyone's crunching and it's bug fixing, that's probably not going to change. And if it does change, it's changed because it's a bug rather than a creative sort of indifference, or if it's a decision that's made by someone, like he's no longer going to shoot he's not left-handed anymore, he's right-handed, so they're going to swap the gun over, or he no longer climbs this brick wall in this particular way, he's now going to crouch behind it. I saved myself 3 weeks worth of work just by waiting till the last minute to do maybe a couple of hours worth of work on that one particular thing. So it sounds counterproductive, but only so much as these people have had weeks, months to do this particular work. This one particular mission, they've been iterating on it and tweaking the design for 6 months. I could go in and I could do all of the audio work for that, and certain things you need to do that for, like, well, the player needs to have that gunshot sound in there because we need to know how it feels with the gun and the animation. Sure, I'll do your gunshot sound. The reloading, for an example, of a gun, those are nuances that will change in animation, and that they're going to change because that's what the player feedback's for. Like, does it, how does it feel? What does it look like? Look at any of the Battlefield games. It's one of the things that they pride themselves on is the reload animations. So do I go in and add in the sounds immediately, or do I wait until all of those have been locked down and then do a sterling job right at the end and fix any issues that arise after that? That's what I would do. And that's what most audio designers do, is they wait until everything's locked down and they know it's not going to change. Then they can go and go, right, I can just knock this out the park. Yes, it might be 12 to 18 hour days that I might be doing. That 18-hour days that you do in 3 weeks, I might work 7 days a week, 60 hours for 3 weeks. Or I can be stressed for 6 months and mess around doing simple things all the time and having to redo the simple things. What most audio designers do, I assume most audio design, all of the ones that I know at least, they spend that 6 months building systems where iteration becomes a click and drag cascade. So I built an audio system for ambience, game world ambience. Like I spent 3 weeks just building this one system. And the reason why I do that is because they might decide at the very last minute, we're adding in a tutorial level, or we're adding in a new level, or we've got some DLC coming out, or we're doing this, we need the audio going in. We've got a turnaround of about 3 weeks. Okay, click, drag. There you go. You've got an ambient system. Immediately, the system is built. It works. It's scalable. Like all I have to do is go in, adjust the bounds of the boxes, the ambient zones in there, add in the sounds, add in the rules, like I want this sound to play this frequently, or I want it to do this, or I want the player to look at the closest 3 trees to where the player is positioned and play a sound on those trees, so I don't have to spawn thousands of sounds around the game world. The system takes care of that for me, and you can knock that out because it's a system based on click and drag. Click and drag, there you go, click, 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 done. Game world is done. Then all I have to do is polish, and the polish side of things, that's where most of the bulk of the work goes at the end of the project, is the polish. You look at any game that Remedy have done in the last sort of 10 years, and all of it is incredibly polished, like very, very polished. And it is so because their audio team, right at the end, they go in and go, right, let's really add the sizzle there and really go in, because all the systems are already built. Everything that they do is just works because they spent months getting it in and working. And that's, I think, unfortunately, I don't think it's something that's ever going to change in the games industry. I think the audio team should be the last people to be actively working on things, because otherwise it won't get the love that it honestly deserves. And I can't think of a better system or a better way to handle it, because everyone's working on the same thing at the same time and everything changes. GTA 5, for an example, like I'd spent ages working on an ambience of this particular area, and then I booted the game up once and was like, oh, that's Lake Chiliad now. Like that was an entirely different, like it looked completely different. There was a lake there, but it wasn't that big. It was a little bit smaller. I'm like, okay, well now all of the work that I've done in that particular area, I had to Control A, delete, nuke the lot. Okay, it's useless to me now because there's a lake there where there was a car park before, and that's fine. That happens a lot in any video game, like not just GTA 5, I should point out, like in 9 to 5, for an example, that we had cases where like I added in a ambience of a building and then like booted up the game one day and the building was gone. It's just like, oh, that's what happened to the building? Oh yeah, no, it's like, yeah. And then I got a bug through. So like when I stand in this particular area, it goes really, really quiet and I can't hear anything. Yeah, that's because there's an occlusion system built like that. There was an interior. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. It's not an interior anymore. It's an exterior. So, okay. Right. But again, like this is a production thing, like conversation with the audio team would have gone a long way to making sure that bug never happened. Things get lost, things slip through the cracks there. So you grin and bear it most of the time. But that's, again, the reason why doing too many things too soon can be quite detrimental and can cause unnecessary bugs, like this is an issue. It's not though, is it really?
Very interesting for me to understand, because this is also something that happens in Hollywood, and I'm very familiar with making movies and doing all that type of stuff, where basically the audio comes last, very much last. And that is because maybe new voice lines need to be recorded, animations always change, and you cannot just go and keep changing the audio along with it, because that way you're just wasting your own time. If you make a V2, a version 2 of an audio for an animation or something, and it's going to be iterated to like V11, why not just set up the whole system so you can skip all the 3 to 11 and just go from 1 to 11 immediately, So that is very interesting to me. Now the whole interview is on a link in the description. Rob is promoting his own soon new game, so go and check out the game as well. Let me know what you all thought of the interview. I thought it was absolutely amazing of an interview. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye bye.